You ever have one of those moments that start small, a glance, a whisper, and by the time it's over, your life feels like it took a detour through somebody else's cruelty? This is one of those stories. It's about a kid who just wanted to study on a plane, an entitled stranger who decided that appearance equals worth, and the way something quiet turned into a public reckoning. Sit back. This one gets messy, then oddly satisfying. Act 1. The hook, tiny spark, big fire. It was a Tuesday afternoon, LAX Gate 42 flight to New York, about to board. First class smelled like new leather and expensive cologne. You know the vibe. Low-lighting servers prepping bubbly. I was in 1A. No, not because I bought the most expensive ticket, but because someone on my side of the family used the company account. My backpack was scuffed hoodie, oversized hair, and a messy bun. Laptop, open finals playlist, humming softly notes, scattered like I was cramming the universe into a single screen. Then she appeared, a woman I'll call Charlotte Grant. Designer coat voice like a gavel fingernails that looked like they could file complaints directly into people. She walked down the aisle and stopped like a judge arriving in court, pointed her finger at me and said, loud enough for half the cabin, "That girl doesn't belong in first class. Remove her now." Boom. 3 words that cut through the hum. Everybody looked. Some people put their phones down, some leaned in. My headphones were noise-canceling but not life-proof. I took one earbud out like you do in bad scenes, and suddenly I was the only one without a script. She kept going. Accusations, insistence, the kind of certainty money teaches you to wield. "You're in the wrong seat. This is for paying customers." I looked at my boarding pass, then at her, calmly. "Seat 1A, I said. "It's assigned to me." She laughed, the kind of laugh that already had evidence lined up. "You don't look like you paid for that seat," she said. "Back in economy where you belong." The cabin had shifted from polite to poisonous. A man across the aisle, call him Mark, told her, "Hey, cut it out. She's not hurting anyone." A woman with a live stream started filming. The little red dot on her screen began to eat viewers. The flight attendants tried to smooth things. A professional smile, a tablet waved like a white flag, but Charlotte kept escalating. She called customer service while standing over me, voice dripping indignation. "There's a fraud on Flight 712, she said. "Remove her now." Act 2. The struggle and turning point. Pressure reveal and the mother who owns the room. For 20 minutes the cabin became a weird courtroom. Charlotte throwing accusations, the crew repeating policy lines, me sitting quiet because I knew 2 things. 1, losing my cool would be fuel. 2, the moment I used my name, the dynamics might change. I could have called my mother from the jump, but something about letting her pull me out felt like giving the bully exactly what she wanted, a show. But here's the part nobody expects: the truth didn't stay hidden. That live stream grew numbers, people commented, strangers offered moral support beneath the camera's red eye. Mark and a few others started recording too. The captain came out of the cockpit because the flight was delayed, and that brought a new tone. She had the authority to end this, but she needed facts. And then, the twist that made my stomach drop and my heart do that weird, excited thump, my phone buzzed. "Mom," I whispered. Evelyn Park, CEO of Pacific Sky Airways, owner of a fleet and a reputation, was on the other end. I'd been trying to live a normal life, work college, a weird internship, while also being her kid. Mom was a force of nature in the boardroom. At home, she was softer. She asked, "You okay?" I said, "There's a woman telling me to get off the plane." Her reply was quiet, "I'm coming." Listen. People imagine CEOs swooping in like movie heroes. Evelyn didn't burst through the door swinging power like a sword. She walked in like someone who owned the air because, well, she did. Tailored suit boots that clicked like punctuation. She stood in the aisle for 1 beat, and everything Charlotte had trained herself to do, dominate, humiliate, public shame, started to unravel. Evelyn didn't yell, she didn't threaten. She said, "I'm Evelyn Park. Is there a problem?" Charlotte tried her old playbook. "Your daughter admitted she didn't buy the ticket." Evelyn raised an eyebrow and said, "My daughter's ticket is on our corporate account. That fact alone does not make her a target for your judgment." The tone was surgical and final. "Now, here's the delicious part." Charlotte demanded proof of payment right there in the aisle. She wanted receipts, bank statements, whatever would make her feel right. But airline policy and privacy mean crew can't just hand over passenger info. Captain stepped in and gave Charlotte a choice: stop disrupting the flight or step off and wait to speak in person. Charlotte chose to push. She wanted the owner. She wanted vindication. And so we all thought she'd get exactly what she wanted. Charlotte was smug, dialing customer service, certain power would back her up. Then the captain made a call, not to the office but to the owner. Charlotte was smiling, thinking she'd be vindicated by authority. Instead, Evelyn asked to join the plane, and in a moment that felt like slow motion, she said she'd heard everything and wanted to meet the person making the complaint. Charlotte beamed. She thought this would be her coronation. Only, the owner she was demanding to speak to was speaking to my phone because I'd been on a quiet call with her the whole time. Evelyn had been listening, and she walked right into the cabin and stood next to me. There's a strange silence when reality flips you inside out. Charlotte's face drained. You could see the cognitive gears trying to find a justification that didn't look racist, classist, or cruel, and failing. Evelyn looked at her and said, "What you just did, harassing a passenger based on how she looks, is not something we allow." Cold, direct. Charlotte sputtered, tried to frame it as security concern. Evelyn asked a simple question. "Would you have said this to another passenger who looked different?" There was no good answer. Act 3. The resolution and the bigger picture. Consequence policy and the seed of change. The crew did what they had to. Charlotte was removed from the flight. Her frequent flyer account, we later learned, was suspended. Her name put on a no-fly list, at least within our carrier. That part satisfies the catharsis itch. Accountability is a real thing sometimes, but the scene's aftermath is what mattered more. Evelyn didn't stop at a ban. She used the whole debacle to force change. Training programs where rewritten bias intervention became mandatory in crew training. A passenger dignity board was formed to handle harassment complaints. And me, I went from being that hoodie kid to someone who had to decide what to do with sudden attention. Reporters called some folks wanted me to be an activist poster child. I went to a conference 6 months later and gave a short talk about dignity in public spaces, about how a phone recording and a few people choosing to speak up can shift outcomes. We started a small fund to help passengers who face discrimination, and other airlines followed suit. It's messy progress, but real. What I remember most isn't the ban or the trending hashtag or the policy changes. It's the quiet moments. The passenger who slid a note across the aisle saying, "You handled that with class." The flight attendant, who later told me she felt guilty for not stepping in sooner. The captain who admitted the incident had changed how she trained her teams. Power can be used to humiliate, or it can be used to protect. The difference is a choice, and choices add up. Now, here's the kicker. This story does not end in perfect closure. Charlotte's friends posted defense threads online. People debated whether it was just a seating dispute or a clear case of discrimination. Some argued Evelyn was abusing her position. Others said the consequences were overdue. Those debates matter because they reveal how complicated justice looks when it happens fast and publicly. So I'm going to leave you with 3 questions, and I want you to answer honestly in the comments. If you saw something like this, what would you do? Record, intervene, or mind your own business? Do you think the crew handled it well, or should they have acted faster? And finally, when someone in power steps in to correct injustice, is that justice, or is it just authority flexing? Drop your thoughts below. Tell your story if you've lived through anything similar, the good, the ugly, whatever. If this hit you, like and subscribe. We need more conversations about dignity, not less. Share this with someone who cares about fairness, because the next time a passenger gets judged by a hoodie instead of a ticket, maybe we won't let it slide. Thanks for listening. Remember, little choices make big change. You know what I mean.